it's time for the Truck Series playoff predictions part of the episode, Kyle. We did our preseason stuff. We were pretty close, I'd say 80%, in terms of our predictions on who made the playoffs and how right we were on that front. We can quickly look at that, and then we'll make our championship 4 prediction, our underdog champion prediction, as well as of course, the full champion, who's going to come out on top and lift the trophy at Phoenix for the Truck Series this season. So we'll start off with the playoff drivers who even made the playoffs this season in the Truck Series compared to what we had originally. So obviously, John Hunter Nemechek won the regular season championship. He has the most bonus points by far with 49 extra points to his total coming into this race weekend. Austin Hill with 2 consecutive victories to end the regular season. He's up in second in the playoff leaderboard with 21 extra bonus points. Then Ben Rhodes starting the season off back-to-back wins. Those are his only 2 wins of the season, 19 extra bonus points for him in third spot. Then Todd Gilliland with the 1 victory at Texas. He has a couple of more stage wins as well with 3. So he has 15 in total for his playoff total. Then Sheldon Creed down in 5th, the defending truck champion. He's got 11 extra bonus points to his name. Zane Smith, championship 4 contender last season, 11 extra bonus points for him. 11 points for Sheldon Creed, 9 points for Zane Smith, 4 points for Matt Crafton. Carson Hocevar down there in 8th spot with 2 extra playoff points. And then Chandler Smith and Stuart Friesen rounded out as the 9th and 10th drivers with 1 extra bonus point each. To the differences to what we had at the beginning of the season, for myself, I had Derek Kraus making it, and I had Rafael Lessard making it. Of course, Lessard backed out due to sponsorship issues about midway point of the regular season, and has been doing very well for himself up in Canada, winning the opening 2 races in the NASCAR Pinty Series. So, of course, we had him at the beginning of the season as well for an interview there. Really special thanks to him as well for coming on and doing that. And then Derek Kraus, I thought he was going to have a breakout season. I thought he was very much on the cusp of that playoff appearance last season in his rookie year. Worst luck I've ever seen, maybe for a Truck Series driver in my entire life. Guy got wrecked, penalties, every which way. Got run
a
into.
lot of it has kind of been his own fault recently, but
fair enough. But at the beginning of the season, he was just absolutely a hit left, right, and center with whatever came his way. So could have maybe been a potential playoff candidate if he had some of those things, or maybe even half his issues go away and just got a decent finish out of it, but didn't end up coming to fruition. And ended up getting 8 out of 10 correct. And of course, the 2 I've missed, Todd Gilliland, big miss on that one. And then Carson Hocevar, I don't think any of us really saw this performance coming from him this season. So what do you have in terms of your right or wrong from a preseason to the actual reality here?
Yeah, so the big one, I think, is Tyler Ankrum missing on, just missed out on that last playoff spot. Really thought that he'd take more of that kind of GMS spot left behind by Brett Moffitt and kind of step up his performance. We saw him win a race early in his Truck Series career, lacked some consistency, saw some flashes on the road courses, but overall, some bad luck and some poor performances resulted in him just missing out. But kind of GMS regressing a little bit overall, so maybe a bit of a factor there as well. But Tyler Ankrum, the miss for myself. And then the other one, Grant Enfinger, doing the show just before he announced that he wasn't doing the full season. Still should have been a playoff driver because running for a back marker team and then doing spot starts for his regular spot, he only missed 1 race of the entire season and would have been plenty in the playoffs as the number 6 seed. So NASCAR being dumb, he's not in the playoffs, but he should be.
All righty. Well, 2 differences there. We're completely different in terms of our picks there, which is interesting, but we all got those 4 wrong. So that's unfortunate on our end, but we have some pretty good candidates there in Todd Gilliland and Carson Hocevar to take their places for the playoffs this time around.
Yeah, I'll admit the big swing and miss on myself for Gilliland, because I also had him as my biggest disappointment of the season, and he's completely blown my expectations out of the water. What I expected from him kind of last year, he's done this year, so I've completely turned a complete 180 on Todd Gilliland here.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment was Grant Enfinger. Saying that, he did not get a full-time ride, so is that not disappointed in itself? But
no, it's not. That's ThorSport being dumb. But
okay, I was just trying there. But
yeah, it's a big swing and a miss.
But whatever. I'll still take it. At least I didn't predict him to make the playoffs when he wasn't even running full time. No, we just recorded the show before that announcement happened.
The fact that he should have been in the playoffs running for a backmarker team, and you said he wouldn't make the playoffs when he was supposed to be running the full season for ThorSport is a real tough look.
But we'll edit that part out. But
yeah, you're lucky you're the one editing this episode. Jeez,
I know.
You can mess with whatever you want to make me look bad. Yeah.
I can make the picture look however I want this week. So let's start off with the underdog champion prediction. This is a guy that we're not having in our championship for, but we think could potentially be a potential championship upsetter if things go his way for the playoffs, if they can get it done. So do you want to lead us off with your underdog champion prediction here? A guy that you don't have a championship for, but it's a surprise candidate for maybe hoisting the trophy at Phoenix.
Yeah, if they make it to the championship four, I really like their potential chances, just given the track that we're going to. But I think they're going to be a little bit hard pressed to get to that point. And it would be great if they did and go all the way, because I had them as my bounce back driver at the beginning of the year, and that's Stuart Friesen. The fact that Phoenix is the championship race is a very, very intriguing potential for myself. Looking at his career at Phoenix in the Truck Series, in 2017 finished 6th, 2018 finished 5th, 2019 got his first win in the Truck Series on pavement at that race to go and make the championship four, and even last year finishing the season off, which was kind of a write-off of a season as a whole, finished 6th. So a worse finish since 2017 of when they kind of went full-time. 2016 they finished further back, but were running very much a part-time schedule. But basically, since they've been running full-time, their worst finish has been 6th as a team, and that's even with the struggles that they had as a Toyota team last year. I think they're going to be very hard-pressed to get to that point, just given the competition, given the hole that they're in terms of playoff points. But if they can maybe squeak through, there's only 2 eliminations after this first 3 races. So if they can survive through these first 3, if they can get a really good run at Talladega or something and maybe upset them at a Martinsville, I know they've got a very strong mile-and-a-half package for Vegas potentially. If they can get to that point, I could see them making the championship 4 and being a strong contender, but I think that they're a bit of a long shot to get to that point. But if they do, I'd be keeping my eye on Friesen as an upset candidate.
Okay. For me, it's the guy that's right tied with him in the point standings, Chandler Smith. Obviously rookie season here, hasn't gotten the first victory here that we maybe had expected of him to, given how well John Hunter Nemechek has done and how KBM has had this resurgence this season with their lineup, but at least he made the playoffs. That's a huge step for him in his bid to try and solidify himself as a long-term candidate, as a prospect here in the Toyota pipeline. Disappointing in some respects, has had terrible luck at times with mechanical failures or some sort of penalty that he puts himself into a situation and whatnot. Hasn't quite been consistent, but if he does make it to Phoenix, there's 2 things. 1, KBM is very, very good at Phoenix, and 2, his result at Richmond earlier this season. He finished 4th there. That's the most comparable track that we have to Phoenix on the Truck Series calendar, that is. And I really like the way that would shape up for Chandler Smith if that were to be the case, if he makes it to the championship 4. I don't think he'll get there. Obviously, I don't have him in the championship 4 prediction. He's going to just be hard pressed with the lack of bonus points. But if he does pick up a win, maybe 2 along the next 2 rounds of the playoffs, of course, that would make him into the championship 4 eligible, or even just 1 win, that would provide extra 5 bonus points. And that could go a long way in how tight that midfield battle is for those cut line spots, because John Hunter Nemechek has just run away with the points, and it's very congested there behind him. If nobody's safe in this first round or any round apart from John Hunter Nemechek, maybe in this first round. Saying that, though, we thought Kevin Harvick was safe last year, and he's out in the final round of the playoffs with the amount of bonus points that he had. So this playoff system has proven that you're safe. You're not safe no matter how many points you have. But if there's going to be an upset candidate for me, it's going to be Chandler Smith, given off of the 2 factors of his Richmond result, which is one of his better results of the season, and then KBM's results at Phoenix itself. So that's the underdog champion prediction on my end. You want to rank this in terms of 4-1, how we think they're gonna finish?
But just also on Chandler Smith, he was the other one that I had. I just believe in Friesen's ability to maybe get those results to get to that point a little bit more.
Mhm.
But KBM is a big thing, but also Chandler Smith. Um, don't forget, has finished third in both of his Phoenix starts in his Truck Series career in 2018, in 2019, and then last year in 2020. 2020 needed a bit of help with the crazy restart and stuff, but
Yeah.
he still got through to that point. But yeah, I'll say on Smith, I had him in my championship four in our preseason predictions. He had 5 top 5s in his last 6 starts at the end of last season in that 51 truck.
Yeah.
Bad luck and some bad performances this year has kind of dampened that a little bit. But as you mentioned, he got into the show. He's in the playoffs. He's going to be in a bit of a hole here and is going to need those results to come quick. But he's absolutely got the talent to potentially go out and surprise and get to that point.
What did you have at the beginning of the season for the championship for, if you have that up?
Yes, I do.
Before we get
I
into
got
it.
everything here. So we really want to pull up the receipts. We can. But no, preseason championship four, I had Sheldon Creed, John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, and Chandler Smith with John Hunter Nemechek as my champion in the preseason.
For myself, I had John Hunter Nemechek, Sheldon Creed, Austin Hill, and Zane Smith as my championship four. John Hunter Nemechek also took home the championship for me there in our preseason predictions. So very similar, 3 out of the 4 for between in terms of similarities between the two of us. Let's see how different or how similar they are when we get to these predictions. But we'll start off with who's coming last here with the championship four. Of course, when we get time before the Phoenix finale, we'll do this once again. Whoever is in the championship four, and will give us our predictions there. But this is the before the playoffs episode, so we have to get this all wrapped up here. So what do you have in terms of 4th place? Who's coming last in that championship four battle? We're not going to go round by round. We'll just get to the meat and the potatoes. Who's in your championship four and who comes in 4th place?
So number 4 for my championship four, I'm going to take Ben Rhodes. I think ThorSport will have some kind of representation in the championship four. They're consistent enough and have done it enough to get at least one driver in that championship four conversation. I think Ben Rhodes has a solid amount of bonus points that can help them out if they do have some issues, specifically looking at that second round with the wild card of Talladega. I feel pretty decent about them this season, but then looking at ThorSport and kind of their championship four performance last year with Grant Enfinger, and they were quite clearly the number 4 entry in that one and kind of had to go to some different strategy to try and get it at the end. It almost ended up working out actually, but Ben Rhodes will be my number 4 entry here for the championship four.
Okay. For me, it's going to be Todd Gilliland as the 4th entry. I say that he makes the championship four. I think it's going to be really close for him to make it to the championship four, just based off of how some of these other teams have performed. But I like his consistency so far this season. 7 top 5s, 11 top 10s. That's pretty damn good numbers considering the equipment that he's in compared to some of these other trucks. And not to say that Front Row Motorsports is bad by any means, but it's definitely not the top tier of like a GMS or a KBM, in my opinion, at least. ThorSport and them are probably pretty equal, so I think it comes down to that for me. But I'm going to say the ability for Todd Gilliland, I think he's the more mature driver between himself and Ben Rhodes, so I think he's going to get the edge, in my opinion, on that front. And I like Todd Gilliland to get that 4th spot, not quite enough to be in that championship hunt when it comes time for the crunch time at Phoenix.
Do you want me to go next?
I can go for 3rd, and then you can kind of go back and forth if you want. Or okay. For me, for my 3rd pick here, these top 3 are very much interchangeable if you want to. When it comes down to a championship race, lots of different things can happen. We saw the tire strategy come into play last season and how it was won. But I'm going to go with the defending Truck Series champion here. Sheldon Creed comes home in 3rd spot. Let's not forget, this guy was not really quite up there at the front most of the race. The situation kind of worked out for him to win the championship. Brett Moffitt 2 laps away, caution falls, everybody comes down pit road, and then Brett Moffitt is basically out there sitting duck when it comes down to it. And Sheldon Creed had the better restart, and it all worked out better for him at that point in time. So I think he's had a decent season so far. He's had some bad luck, hasn't quite had the consistency I would like, has very good high-end potential, which I believe will get him the probability of getting him a victory in maybe each of the rounds if it goes that way. If not, if he gets a win in the first round, I say that he has enough points to back it up to be consistent enough in that final round to make it to the championship four. I just haven't quite seen the speed enough from him to win the championship this season, to go back to back. So Sheldon Creed finishes off in third place this season.
For myself, number 3 is Todd Gilliland for myself. I really debated putting him in or not. But just given kind of his history in the truck series of wrecking a lot on the super speedways, but if he can keep it clean, he's got a second place before at Talladega. So it's not like he hasn't been able to get to that finish, but it seems like he's always kind of involved in some wreck. That scares me a little bit, but it's offset by the fact that Martinsville is the finale. And that is, of course, where he got that KBM win a couple of years back now. So I like the way that kind of breaks down for him. Maybe a bit of a question mark at Talladega, but then a track that I definitely believe in them at Martinsville. So I do have him making it all the way to the championship race. But I'm going to have him as my number 3 entry. They've been solid, or he's been solid in his career at Phoenix. Front Row Motorsports doesn't have like a ton of history to look on. But I feel like, especially with some of the rumors that we've had recently between 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, I feel like they could have even more of an emphasis and put more money into a potential championship for kind of truck or something like that. I like Gilliland at some of these shorter tracks, looking at his performance at Gateway in the past. Of course, talking about the Martinsville win, even though that, of course, isn't really a one-to-one comparison for Phoenix. He's had some decent runs at Phoenix, but I'll have him as my number 3 championship contender there. I think he'll get to that point, but similar to you, once he gets there, I'm not really sure about their high-end potential to go out and actually win the championship. And so for that, we get to the big ones, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, let's just reveal our top 2, and then we can get into who our championship actually is. So I think we can all assume what the championship would be if we go to second, but let's reveal our top 2. You lead us off with your top 2, and then I'll do mine, and then we can make our prediction.
Okay. The top 2 contenders for the championship, nice and simple for myself, John Hunter Nemechek and Sheldon Creed.
Okay. For myself, it's John Hunter Nemechek and Austin Hill this time around.
Okay.
So those are my top 2. How do you want to go about this? I'm sure we can probably agree on who the champion's going to be. Maybe I could be wrong, but rock, paper, scissors. I don't know.
No, I'll lead things off.
You want to go? Go for it.
For myself, I've got Nemechek as the champion. I'll start with Sheldon Creed here. I think his restart prowess and as chaotic as Phoenix can get, I really like that combination for him to go out there and contend at the top. I've also got him as the only GMS entry in the championship for, so I think that kind of emphasis on his truck especially would help. And of course, he did go out and win at Phoenix, of course, having some extenuating circumstances and whatnot. But I think his experience this season with some of the ups and downs a little bit of a season, but going out and having the experience in the playoffs last year will help him. I also like his potential to get to that championship race with Las Vegas in that last round for them, and Martinsville as well. So I've got him being up there contending for the championship, but simply put, John Hunter Nemechek's been too good for KBM and for the Truck Series this season. His performances have been just ridiculous this season. His peer is insanely high for Truck Series regular. KBM, I didn't think that they would be this good. I thought that Nemechek would be good, but then kind of the struggles that we've seen from the KBM regulars in the past couple of years would maybe bring him down a little bit closer to that GMS territory, and maybe would be a late season resurgence for KBM into the playoffs. That hasn't been the case whatsoever. They've been dominant from the drop of the green flag in Daytona. And for that, I think they'll go all the way to the championship 4 and win it. If they don't, it'll be an absolute travesty.
Yeah. For me, I'll start off with Austin Hill. The guy should have been in the championship 4 last season and just had such a heartbreaker last year when it came down to crunch time, was just absolutely floored when it came down to it, was the regular season favorite, it seemed, going into it. And
the regular season championship.
Yeah. I mean, this guy was definitely at the top of his game. Took a little bit to come into this season here. I'm sure that probably knocked his confidence a little bit last year, not making it to that championship 4, but I think he makes it back there this season. I felt very confident when I made the preseason prediction. I feel much more confident even now. The 2 straight victories here for him to end the regular season. They're going to go into the playoffs on a high, maybe not the most correlated in terms of the tracks to try and get your notes ready for this upcoming weekend. But nonetheless, I'll still take the victories and the consistency that Austin Hill has shown tying John Hunter Nemechek with the most top 10s in the series so far this season as well. Bodes well for him going down the stretch. Not quite the laps led total that you would maybe want for a championship 4 competitor, but I just like the speed of Austin Hill and his hit. I think he's got the right headspace to try and get this. He's had this 16 truck here for the 3rd straight season now. This is a track. This is a thing that he's going to try and break through, I think, for Hattori. He's going to fall just short, I think, of that first Truck Series championship. But I mean, how can you really bet against John Hunter Nemechek right now? The guy is just otherworldly. He should win this clear and far away from the field. And given KBM success at Phoenix and his prowess as a race car driver and how dominant he's been so far this season, I mean, he's got almost triple what the next highest lap leader has in the Truck Series this season, apart from Kyle Busch. John Hunter Nemechek has definitely been the guy to beat. And like you said, it would be a travesty if he doesn't win it, because he's absolutely deserving of it. And then I think the playoff debate really becomes even more of a high emphasis question of, is this really the right way to crown a champion after him dominating the season? 5 victories so far. And who knows how many more he'll end up with when it comes down time for Phoenix. But hopefully he makes it. He should make it there pretty easily, unless something terrible happens in one of the rounds for him. If it's that Talladega round where he ends up out early or something happens, but hopefully, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. John Hunter Nemechek should be your Truck Series champion for 2021. And I'm fascinated to see where he ends up in 2022. If it's back in the trucks, Xfinity, or in some sort of cup capacity, I'm sure he's going to be definitely grinding his teeth to try and get up at a high profile ride in a higher division of the sport. But that's my championship 4. Your thoughts on yours, your thoughts on mine. I'll go back and forth, I guess, and then we'll conclude today's episode.
Yeah, just on Austin Hill and why I don't have him in. It's just that last round scares me quite a bit. I like them a lot at Vegas, but Talladega is a massive question mark. And then Martinsville, I know it's a little bit unfair because Hill ran some mid-pack to back marker stuff earlier in his Truck Series career, but in 7 starts at Martinsville, he only has 1 top 10, and that was a 10th place. So just a bit too much of a question mark for me, and not enough of a points gap to some of those other contenders. The one thing I will say, though, is the Truck Series is crazy, and basically anybody here can make the championship 4. Last year, Moffitt was the number 2 seed, Zane Smith was the number 4 seed, Sheldon Creed was the number 5 seed, and Grant Enfinger was all the way down in the number 8 seed as the ones that made the championship for their seeding at the beginning of the championship. And so if that were to carry over to this year, that would be the equivalent of Austin Hill, Todd Gilliland, Sheldon Creed, and Carson Hocevar making the championship 4. So anything is possible with the Truck Series playoffs.
Definitely. They're crazy, man. They'll do anything. It doesn't really matter what happens. 3 out of 4 for myself in terms of the preseason. Did you have 3 out of 4 then as well in terms of what you predicted originally?
Let me double check. I think it's 2 for myself, Nemechek and Creed. Yeah.
Okay. Why did you go against what you originally had, just quickly?
Yeah, so Zane Smith, I thought GMS would be a lot better this season. I thought they would be the dominant team, getting a bunch of different wins between Creed, Smith, and even Tyler Ankrum. Didn't quite see that same level of dominance from them this season that they kind of showed last year, getting 3 of the 4 in the championship 4. So just for that reason, I didn't feel comfortable going with 2 championship 4 drivers from GMS. And for Chandler Smith, I thought we would have seen more from him in the regular season in terms of consistency. Haven't quite seen that same level that we saw at the end of the regular season last year, where he basically became the full-time driver of the 51, only missed the 1 race of the last 7. And when he was in the truck, had 5 out of the 6 top 5 runs at the end of the season. Like, he was fantastic at the end of the season. Hasn't translated so much to this season, so I wasn't comfortable taking the big swing on Chandler Smith to make the championship 4. If I were to maybe bet on one of the 2 to make the championship 4, I would actually lean towards Chandler Smith over Zane Smith, just because of that potential in KBM, that potential that Chandler Smith showed in those playoff tracks at the end of last season versus Zane Smith, who's been consistent this year, has got the finishes, but hasn't had that same high end that we maybe saw as much last year for GMS.
Yeah, for me, I have Todd Gilliland replacing Zane Smith. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Zane Smith really this season. I feel like he's just been really
I think it's
quiet.
a lot of the same, to be honest. Like he only won the one race last year. I'm pretty sure it was a lot of consistent
Michigan,
performances. Right? Yeah, and that's a lot of the same of what we've had this season. A lot of consistent performances, but not necessarily at the high end, getting the wins or anything like that. Like looking at a season, he's got what? So excluding Daytona, because that's a crapshoot, excluding the road course, he's got what? Richmond was outside the top 10, Darlington, which was the crazy race, outside the top 10, and then Knoxville, the dirt race, outside the top 10. Everything else has been inside the top 10, and yet only one top 5 in Nashville. So it's been a very, very consistent season for Zane this year, but not the high end. And I feel like you're going to need that high end and not just be that consistent guy to go out and win either in the playoffs or get to that championship race. Also clarify, he did win 2 races. I forgot he won Dover last year as well.
Yes. I just don't quite think I've seen the speed from him so far this season just to be up there in that championship 4 mix. He could potentially be an early round exit if he doesn't have that consistency translate into the playoffs, just because he hasn't quite had that high end speed in terms of a top 5 finish we've seen so far this season. If he's struggling to keep in that 6th to 10th range and falls out of that a little bit with maybe the likes of a Chandler Smith or Stuart Friesen step up their consistency game, because I think they probably have a little bit more speed, potentially more than Zane Smith, then he could be an early round exit, or he could be a guy that goes under the radar, is consistent, and makes it to the championship 4 again. So I think it's two
depends the amount of chaos we get is a big thing. And to be fair, the Truck Series does have a lot of chaos, and he's been able to avoid it this year.
Definitely. So that'll do it for our Truck Series Truck Series playoff.
Not silly season. No.
Season. Oh man, I'm losing it here. But it's been a crazy ride for the Truck Series so far this season. Looking forward to seeing if there's anybody that can upset John Hunter Nemechek on the road to the championship come Phoenix, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be an exciting time. And of course, as the playoffs begin for each of the top 3 series, we will have our playoff predictions episodes. Cup Series will probably have its own dedicated thing, because we'll go into that a little bit more in depth. With the Xfinity Series, you can expect something probably pretty similar as to this one. But any final thoughts before we wrap up today's episode, Kyle? Busy one, jam-packed one, busy one. Yeah, it's crazy.
Looking forward to Gateway this weekend for IndyCar and the Truck Series playoff opener. Love that track so much, and love seeing a couple of marquee races this weekend. One for championship or really both for championship implications. One for a playoff opener, and the other one coming down as I believe the last oval of the IndyCar season, unless I'm mistaken. I believe it's the last one. Sure. And a big opportunity for guys like Pato O'Ward and Joseph Newgarden to get really into that championship conversation with the grid penalty to Alex Palou, and then also their success at that track. So looking forward to that one. Also quickly, just before we wrap up, want to mention that Kamui Kobayashi went out and, as per usual, got the pole, their hyper pole for the 24 Hours of Le Mans this weekend. It's his 4th Le Mans pole of his career, which means that he's 1 pole away from matching the record set by Jackie Ickx, of course, one of the greatest ever do it at Le Mans. So Kamui Kobayashi is just otherworldly, and I hope he can finally convert that 4th career pole at Le Mans into a championship.
Definitely. There's a lot of different things in store for motorsports this weekend. So if you have a motorsports fix and you want to get some of that fix filled, then this is the weekend to really do it. There's a lot of different things. Le Mans, Michigan, Gateway, but there's a lot of different things on tap, and you got your motorsports covered across the board here this weekend. So that'll do it for today's episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag Pod, as well as Twitter at The Green Flag Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. We'd really appreciate it. Let us know in the comments what is in your fantasy lineup this weekend and who is your Truck Series champion as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But for this episode, for the last time from the home studio here in Langley, BC, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman, signing off for now. Thank you so much for 104 episodes here at home. We'll talk to you from Toronto next weekend. Enjoy the racing, everybody.